What is happening, Magnus sites? Get over and follow Endymion. Tell him Tyrone Magnus sent you. He's really good at what he does. He's got a similar mindset. He's just another fan that wants great entertainment like the rest of us. Think of that. He's got some news for us. Major backlash with Stellar Blade censorship. It is a Warhammer 40K sized mess. Plus, you got journalists attacking fans. Are you ready? Let's get it.
What's up, everyone? It's Endymion, and the ongoing Stellar Blade war is ramping up to new heights as quite a lot has happened in such a short period of time. I'm drowning in information here, but today we'll go over the censorship claims, woke journalists celebrating it, and even some weirdos calling for people like Grumps to be taken out Hitman style. And I also want to touch on the blatant hypocrisy of the woke liberal journalists who champion censorship while staying quiet whenever it doesn't fit their agenda. You'll see what I mean. Beyond that, we have the Tomb Raider censorship
all over a video game. And, you know, there's the whole hard R shop thing that they censored and made it crime R shop. People are saying that that in itself, if you're trying to say that that was hard R, then the crime R or whatever is apparently another thing that it's like offensive. So it doesn't matter. Then you've got her a couple of her outfits have been censored when they said it wasn't going to be censored. So, oh, good Lord.
Censorship ordeal reaching an interesting...
By the way, I know that there's a petition going around not to censor it, to reverse the censoring. I tried to click on it. I keep getting some type of error message. Somebody let me know what's on. I couldn't even take a look at it.
Turn and much more. But first, I've been playing Stellar Blade myself. I'm
Me too.
currently in the wasteland area of the game, which is a big sand area. You've likely seen it in trailers.
Just beat him today.
So far, I would say the game is very fun.
That's the first one.
But also, surprisingly, not nearly as hard as I thought it would be either.
Yeah.
Beta skills pretty much destroy everything, especially the beta skills triplet and slash, which can pretty much cancel out every enemy's attack animation, including bosses.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was destroying the second version of that earlier on my live stream. Make sure y'all check it in for that. Having a lot of fun with this.
As you're seeing on screen here, as I fight an early boss, I am just wrecking them, dude. And again, the game isn't hard, but man, is it fun.
Yes.
Also, in more good news, Stellar Blade has already surpassed 1 million copies sold on PlayStation 5, and that's great to see. So the future of this series is bright already, and I wouldn't be surprised if Shift Up and Sony announces a sequel.
Of course,
but
they're already working on
going to have to first
second
fix this whole censorship problem. So let's get into that now. From Bounding into Comics, we have this article titled, Stellar Blade Director Responds After Patch Censors Holiday Rabbit Outfit, Claims Updated Design Was Always Intended as Final Version.
Yeah, they also censored the blood. They censored the blood and gore. She kills this one monster. You can see it splatters all over her body and stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. So they censored that, and they censored her outfits. But something like The Last of Us 2 is free to roam in the wild and do whatever it wants, considering what that game's got in it. You can stab somebody in the neck and see the blood gush out with each pump of their heart. And let's not forget the Abby sex scene. Yeah, that's okay, but this is wrong, right? It needs to be censored.
So this whole #Free Stellar Blade movement, which was started by Grums, by the way, was due to an outfit in the game being censored after the Day 1 patch. Here's the original bunny outfit prior to the Day 1 patch. As you can see here, Eve's chest is not covered and cleavage is shown. But once the patch was implemented, here's the new outfit, which now has a shirt underneath covering the
they even
cleavage.
put glasses
the
on
creator of Stellar Blade and CEO of
Change the hair color.
Whose name is Hwang Tae Kim, was at a livestream celebration for the launch of his game, where he was then asked by someone attending the event about the censorship claims that have begun to stir. A thread on Reddit had the dialogue translated, so here's what Kim said regarding the situation, and I quote, Understandably, we also recognize this issue. However, the final costume that we wanted to show you is indeed the costume in version 1.0.0.2. I want to clarify that is our final product. However, I know this answer is not enough to convince our users.
Right, people aren't.
There is an internal discussion ongoing regarding this, so I think we'll have a chance to answer it soon. End quote. So he confirms the way the outfit looks is what was intended from the get-go, and he could be telling the truth, of course. I mean, things do change and develop all the time. But of course, this isn't enough for many customers who instead believe Kim was strong-armed by Sony into doing...
Exactly. I was going to say, you want to believe him. It's just, you know how things have been online, and people get pressured, and they, you know, fold.
Doing this. During one interview, Kim was being interviewed at ShiftUp's HQ with Nier creator Yoko Taro sitting in the same interview, to which the interviewer then asked, "Speaking of which, Mr. Kim, I wanted to ask you if there were any fights with Sony Interactive Entertainment since they are publishing Stellar Blade." Kim then apparently looked at his staff nervously and said the people at Sony are very nice, which is, you know, could be there's a lot going on there that we know about, and then Yoko Taro being the king.
I mean, I've dealt with Sony before. I've done brand deals or stuff with them. They've always been very nice. I haven't had any problems with them.
He is then replied, "Sony Interactive Entertainment staff members are pulling faces I've never seen before. I wish the readers of this article could see it." And of course Taro would know exactly what Kim is going through, since his games like Drakengard and Nier have obviously had to challenge the same censorship and company policies that Kim and the Stellar Blade team are facing right now. And having put quite a few hours already into the game, and I've also 100%ed in Platinum Nier Automata, I can tell you that Stellar Blade has a lot of the same DNA as Taro's series, in a good way I mean. The music, the combat, even the fact both games have large sand environments, it just feels like I'm playing Nier again. The unfortunate truth is that companies tend to censor things all the time for all manner of stupid reasons. As one user named Zyle Harkin on Twitter posted, a bunch of things Sony has in the past censored from not even Korean devs, but all kinds. Stuff like Martha is Dead, which is a horror game, and here's what they had to censor for Sony.
That was a joke for a second.
"It is with regret that we have to modify the experience on the PS5 and PS4 versions with some elements no longer playable. After over 4 years of passion and..."
Could have swore it was going to be a Batman v Superman joke, but he was being for real.
"Hard work, developer LA now requires extra time to make these unplanned changes. Martha is Dead, as a result, will still launch digitally on both PS5 and PS4, but the physical retail release will be delayed to a yet-to-be-disclosed date. Although we anticipate this to only be a small number of weeks, we will update the players with the date we ship this edition as soon as we have the information. The PC and Xbox versions of Martha's Dead are both unaffected by these developments and will launch with the full unedited gameplay as planned. Then we have Senran Kagura, which was also censored by Sony and removed the Intimacy mode, and then we also have Omega Labyrinth being censored on PS4, but not on Switch, which is very weird. It feels as if Sony has some woke morons in some ethics department that is ruining things like this on purpose in order to push an agenda. But what's very odd to me and others is that Sony is inconsistent when it comes to these censors. Since many of their AAA Western offerings, like Ghost of Tsushima or The Last of Us Part 2, are not censored whatsoever. Could it be because a game like The Last of Us Part 2 stars ugly mongoloid women and the sex scenes and immense gore is integral to the plot? Maybe. But then again, it does seem that a lot of the censorship seems to come from Asian-made games going to the West, and usually not the other way around. Then, of course, there's games like Baldur's Gate 3, which was not censored whatsoever and arguably features far more risque elements to it than something like Stellar Blade.
Yeah, I haven't played it,
you can even modify your genitals in games like Baldur's Gate or even Cyberpunk 2077, which again was not censored, at least to my knowledge anyway. And it proves that the hypocrisy does not only stop and end with companies, but it's people who work in the industry too. For example, there's an employee at GameSpot named Jessica Cogswell. Don't harass this person, by the way, but they spoke on Grumps' petition surrounding Stellar Blade and said this: "This is the most unhinged behavior I've seen in quite some time, and I have a 2-year-old. But people were quick to find older tweets from this Jessica...
Well, you haven't been on Twitter long enough at all. I've seen much more unhinged behavior. I always tell you, just go to Twitter, type in my name. You'll see a whole lot of unhinged behavior from people that are insane. Just look at their profiles. It'll let you know everything you need to know about them. So that sounds biased right there. Because if you're on Twitter a lot, there's unhinged behavior that's way behind, way beyond that.
The lady, and shows her bias when it comes to how censorship is pushed in equal measure across the industry. For example, here, where Jessica celebrates how she was able to champion and speak on the sexual content within games like Baldur's Gate, where she said, "Incredibly happy with the list we compiled, and that I was able to not only write at length about Baldur's Gate 3, but include a conungulous joke as well. God bless video games." It doesn't end there, though. She would continue by saying, an important Starfield thing no one is talking about, way more genital options than Baldur's Gate. And some of those schlongs are truly massive. Can't express how impressive they look when you're visiting low-gravity planets.
See? Unhinged behavior.
It's very interesting that Jessica here is championing the size of genitals and how they look and operate, but is condoning other people who don't want censorship in their games. And of course, here she is saying that Hades is her game of the year, even though she's never played it herself. But simply thinks it's game of the year because of the character designs, with one of them of course being Aphrodite, who is a trans-looking woman who is barely covered themselves. But of course, that fits their agenda, so it's totally fine. So for someone like Jessica, who is very evidently pro-sexual content, it's very bizarre how she is rolling her eyes and attempting to dunk on others when content that is also sexualized is being censored. If anything, she should be standing alongside those who want that sort of content. But of course, due to echo chambers and all of that, she can't do that, or she'll probably get excommunicated from GameSpot, and her friends, who all unironically say they're allies, will just cry and run to HR if she were to defend something like Stellar Blade, akin to how she did for those other games. But notice how every game with pro-sexual content, whether it's Baldur's Gate, Starfield, or Hades, they all have one thing in common that Stellar Blade doesn't. That's right, they're Western-made, and that's the big reason for censorship, and I've been noticing it more, that Asian games get censored quite often. But Western games, it's totally fine, although I will admit I did see some online discussion surrounding Stellar Blade allegedly toning down its blood effects and gore, but what was not given in the context was the shots of the mass gore were done in graphics mode, whereas the less gore was from performance mode. Why this matters is simply because obviously one prioritizes 60 FPS and the other the graphical fidelity, so you have one or the other. And obviously, if you pick for a stable 60 FPS, you'll lose some of that detail, so naturally...
I personally thought the blood shot was pretty cool. You know what I mean? Of it raining on her and stuff. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. Disgusting, yet cool. I was just like, oh, she don't care. She get in the business.
Some of the blood might be less in that mode, so that's likely why, but I can't say 100%. Although when it comes to blood in games in general, I would prefer if games just gave me an option in the menu to turn it off, or at least tone it down at the very least. Especially when it comes to YouTube videos, the algorithm just hates gore and blood, so if you hadn't noticed, I usually go out of my way to not show blood simply because it's YouTube. Believe me, I would love to showcase some gameplay from games I've played where I shoot someone in the head and their brains explode like confetti, but YouTube, unfortunately, is pro-censorship in that regard. Even some parts of Stellar Blade, I have to black and white filter because the blood is too much for YouTube. So trust me when I say
I was
hate
just
censorship
about to ask, what move was that you did? Because the screen went black and white for a second. I was about to ask.
With it literally all the time when I'm making
thought it was a super move or something.
Video. But I think what a lot of these people who are pro-censorship and anti-Gamergate is that they're hypocrites. And I think we should not be celebrating any game being censored in any regard, no matter what. In my opinion, if your game is rated M for mature, which Stellar Blade is, then censorship should just not exist. I don't care how graphic your game is, how much nudity or blood or anything else. If it says M for mature, then it's all hands off.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing. You know, I told you guys I've never been into blood and gore or into a bunch of, sexual stuff. It's not like that. My whole thing is, if you do, though, it's a rating system. Like I know what to expect when I go to a rated R movie. I know what to expect going to a PG-13 movie. I know what to expect going to a G movie. It's like, okay, you rate the game, let be in it what it's allowed to have in it.
Rated T for teen or below, obviously, yeah, okay, don't show genitals and stuff because it's obviously meant for people under the legal age. I get that. But it makes zero sense when it's done in games with ratings designed for that very same reason in the first place. And for anyone who says, why do you guys care so much about the sexual content or something, it's kind of beside the point.
Yeah, it's not what
the
it's
reason
about.
why there is an uproar is because content is being censored, period. It doesn't matter what it is. It just shouldn't be happening regardless.
And it's like they don't like the fact that she's attractive, and then they're saying she's not real, but she was scanned from a real woman, and just all this other stuff that's also behind it that they don't like.
As well, since the game is confirmed a week before release to be uncensored everywhere, then people started noticing little things that are being censored. So, yeah, it's going to cause a stir.
Yes.
Because you can't promote your product and then remove or change things after purchase is made. Because now what you've changed is not what was promised prior to the purchase. It would be like buying a scary horror game with tons of gore and monsters. But once you buy it, they remove most of the blood and leave only a few monsters.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wouldn't be good, and that's not only censorship, but it's lying too. It's bad business practices 101, and I think that's what people fail to understand here. It's less about the nudity and more simply about silencing freedom of expression and, giving what you advertised.
Yeah.
And this next story is just ridiculous. So to give you some context, one of the people who's against the Stellar Blade's sexiness is a Games Radar writer named Austin Wood, who wrote one article titled Stellar Blade puts Eve in some incredibly stupid sexy outfits that hurts the game's story. But despite the forced sex appeal, I actually love her detailed design. I covered this article in my previous video. The guy is apparently asexual and thinks Eve's sexiness is corny. I don't take the opinion of a guy who refers to himself as asexual seriously, but anyway, the same guy also wrote this other article titled, The Baldur's Gate 3 patch notes didn't mention the most important change, but players sure found it, dick physics. As you can see, yet again, you have a Western journalist being upset about an Eastern game showcasing sexuality, yet celebrating when a Western game does the exact same thing. And a friend of the channel, whose name is Madam Savvy, responded to the hypocrisy of this.
I was just about to say there's a whole lot of hypocrisy going on here.
Give her a follow, by the way. She's a nice lady. Anyway, here's what Savvy said
her
about
out.
Stellar Blade Discourse, and I quote, People see hypocrisy, and every single person who tries to boil down the current online conversation to gamer chuds just want over-sexualized women in games is a shallow, single-celled organism who thoroughly doesn't have the capacity to have a conversation. We are, at the end of the day, all human within the same biological hardwiring. We naturally are drawn to certain markers that will influence art, product, sales, creation, imagination, etc. Our eyes want to look at appealing things. Our brains crave beauty, from a rising sun saturated in colors to the idealistic form of a human and all the uniqueness that makes them stunning works of art. The sexy outfits don't hurt.
Your eyes are attracted to healthy bodies, whether it's male or female. If you're a man, you admire the healthy male. You're like, man, I'd like to look like that. And you admire also the healthy woman. I may want to marry her. Get what I'm saying? So, but our eyes are just drawn to the beauty of nature, of what it's supposed to look like. You get what I'm saying?
Anything. It's okay to just be positive or even neutral about something, in the exact same manner that it should be okay to notice the things mentioned in the second headline. Both the design and exaggeration of Eve should be fine, just as should all the imaginary and visionary of Baldur's Gate 3. But for whatever reason, clickbait bloggers have given themselves this imaginary moral authority to decide which is fine and which isn't, what hurts sales, which is void from facts and based in reality, and what is most important. These people would be much happier in life if they stopped cultivating this pathetic online discourse. By celebrating censorship and displaying blatant hypocrisy, they bring commentary upon themselves. No longer are these bloggers shielded from public response thanks to the way the internet works now. People can let them know just how they feel about their trashy words. They aren't needed anymore to bolster the sales of something because a single Twitch streamer is more effective than their bot-viewed website. No product should be subject to censorship anywhere. Every product should be able to be sold as the creator intended, and the free market should decide success. You are free, absolutely, to not like something and not buy it, but under the guise of a writer, at least pretend for the sake of the word journalism you have some sort of consistency or lack of bias. People will, thanks to this type of blatant hypocrisy, celebrate censorship when it happens to you. You cause this and bring it upon yourself. Instead of breaking from the narrative of groupthink, you feed into the same machine and no progress for anyone is ever made. Unlike these type, most normal people are completely okay with both things existing and wouldn't call one a problem over the other. Most people don't live their lives by the clickbait headlines. On top of that, most people online can get behind creative freedom for all. But cherry picking and purposeful dilution of words makes it seem like that isn't the case. Thanks to people like this, thanks to anyone who clickbaits and can't just be for creative freedom, we are here now. I celebrate storytelling, all forms, from jiggle physics on men and women to heartbreak stories to hentai to yaoi to yuri to straight whatever.
Jiggle physics are just ridiculous. Like I know what it's like to see a woman in the nude and her just talking and stuff, and the way they move are just ridiculous in these games. And even in this, and like, from this to Chun-Li to like even people's hair in like certain Resident Evil games I was talking about, like, you know, like, listen, I know plenty of white people. When I'm talking to them, they're moving their head, their hair doesn't go like this and stuff like that. Like, what the hell's with the physics of some of these games?
It's all art, plot or no plot. Everyone has the capacity to create and share their work thanks to the internet, yet there are those cheering censorship. Insane. End quote. And Savvy put it beautifully there, it's blatant hypocrisy on every front, and the complete disregard of what matters and doesn't in the eyes of these writers is plain as day to see. You can't be upset about something when you're writing articles being happy about dick physics, even if you're some asexual weirdo journalist who likely lives somewhere like San Francisco. The point here is that we should all be against censorship of any kind. It's why I always say we should never silence others, even if we disagree with them. You will never see me telling you to...
One of those slippery slope arguments. It's like, after you start censoring one person, as case, like, where do you draw the line?
Block somebody on Twitter or go after them or something, because that's not how we win anything. All that does is reduce us to the same pathetic level as those who want to destroy everything. I say let them speak, even if they have opposing views, because most of the time, as evident on this channel, these morons just tell on themselves most of the time anyways.
Yeah.
And beyond that, I want them to be able to express themselves freely, because I think the more people are able to witness the blatant hypocrisy of these individuals, the more people will open their eyes and abandon their crazy echo chambers in droves. I always tell viewers to never harass anyone, even though these people never have the same courtesy, but that's fine.
You damn right. I've always talked about that. I'm just like, it's just funny how the people that are for great entertainment, again, like, they're not harassing people online. They're not going after people and trying to get their jobs taken and trying to destroy their careers. We'll speak on it. We'll speak on these issues, but we're not, dropping these names and trying to, get these brigades against you and all this other stuff and harassing people in droves every day. It's not even like that. But the other side, okay, you have an opposing view, but you also think you're good people. You call us bad people, but you're the ones trying to destroy us and our livelihoods and our mental sanity and everything else that goes with it. You got to be really strong if you ever want to be a social media influencer or anyone in the public eye, whether you're a politician, an actor, musician, whatever it is. Anybody famous, you better make sure you're ready, because there are people that will harass you for no reason, bother you for no reason, tell you you're ugly, say your stuff sucks, just all this different types of things, and you never did one thing to them. They're miserable people. Hurt people hurt people. Always remember that. They want you to feel like them, so they have to complete the circuit. They have to keep the cycle going.
Because that's how we beat them, by not becoming as miserable as they are all the time.
Do what I do. Just block them.
Most of these Western game journalists are guys who consume enough soy milk to drown a cow while waving at their girlfriends who leave to go hang out with their other boyfriends. These are the people we're up against. Genetic dead ends, as they say. But regardless, their ideas need to be combated, otherwise more soy milk-infused journalists will be born in the future.
Never heard that before, a genetic dead end. Yeah, it's almost like, it's like you're never going to reproduce, buddy, because you are truly not behaving like a man should. What woman is going to want to procreate with you if you act like this? That's what that is.
Be real. Most of these journos don't even do their jobs properly anyway, so people like me have to actually dig up the dirt and ask questions, otherwise nobody will. Don't get me wrong, there's still some actual game journalists out there like Gene Park or Jason Schreier, but the majority of them, yeah, just throw them in the bin. But it's very interesting how you'll see these journalists laugh at the Stellar Blade discourse, but they'll suspiciously be quiet when it happens on their side.
Yeah.
Remember articles like these from last year titled "Sony Censors LGBT Content from Saudi Arabian Release of Marvel Spider-Man 2. And when Spider-Man 2's LGBT content got censored for Middle Eastern countries, a lot of these journalists were either upset or said nothing at all because they didn't want to disturb the echo chamber. In my opinion, what happened to Spider-Man 2 there is just as bad as Stellar Blade, yet they'll try to tell you with a straight face that it's different, but it isn't. It's the same.
It's not.
Not only that, but proves that places like Sony and Insomniac are not even serious when it comes to the pandering anyways. Because if they actually did care about LGBT rights, they would refuse to remove the content, but they did it anyway because they obviously wanted Saudi Arabian money. That alone proves that woke devs like Insomniac care about their profits more than their own pandering. Yet why didn't Jessica Cogswell or Austin Wood report on that and rally to restore their precious LGBT content into Spider-Man? Because their morals are as flimsy as their paper straws they use to drink their overpriced lattes as they wear their Black Lives Matter face masks. These people are clowns. They don't have morals. They celebrate degeneracy. Like
Damian, you're funny, man.
Genital options. But then they'll also roll their eyes when a little bit of cleavage is shown in a Korean game.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? These people don't even just hate you. They want you gone. Actually, that also happened recently too. From thatparkplace.com, we have this article titled "Evil Individual Places $20,000 Bounty on Grums aka Mark Kern for Beginning Campaign to Uncensor Stellar Blade." Yeah, you heard that right. There was a user named Toneman who said this on Twitter. 20k to anyone that makes this dipshit disappear. So this Toneman guy quite literally advocated for Grums to be silenced or killed because of his opinions on video games. That's where we've gotten to. Of course, many people responded to this Toneman guy, and of course, if you go check his account, now he's deleted it. Because, like always, these journalists and their supporters, they run with their tails between their legs because they can't take the criticism they so often dish out themselves. So when I say that these echo chambers, which are overrun with woke, insane people, are wishing harm upon...
And they want you to argue with them. I've had people, they get so mad when I ban them. He banned me. He wouldn't... This one person I saw, he wouldn't even have a discourse with me. Excuse me? You come to my page, you insult me, and you expect me to converse with you? Are you in... Yes, they are insane. That's the thing. Very mentally ill people flood Twitter. And a lot of social media, but specifically Twitter, I've noticed. I treat them like people on the street that you walk by that are mumbling to themselves. Why am I going to interact with you? I don't think so.
On you and want you dead for speaking out, I mean it. Even Savvy shared a DM she got after speaking about censorship and that game's radar guy. Someone said to her, "We are going to do things to you that have never been done before." Very cool. So users are attempting to threaten Savvy as well for speaking her mind on a public platform. But this is what we have to deal with, and it's on a daily basis, by the way. I constantly have people saying I should end myself for speaking out, but that's okay, because it just means that what me and others are doing is important. And it's not all for naught after all. Look at Tomb Raider. This article is from Niche Gamer, and it's titled, "Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered Undoes Inadvertent Censorship." The developers have actually gone back in to bring back content that was censored thanks to fan feedback and the constant push from their community.
I heard about that. I didn't know if they fixed it.
Tomb Raider remasters had to say about it. Thank you to the Tomb Raider community for your continued feedback and support for Tomb Raider 1 through 3 Remastered starring Lara Croft. In the recently released patch 2, we made several texture and graphical updates to the HD version. As part of these updates, the posters in Sleeping with the Fishes, the Lost Artifact, were inadvertently removed in the HD version of the game. This has been resolved, and these textures will be restored in patch 3. So it's good to see developers and publishers actually listening to their fan base when it comes to things like this. And like I said, discourse is not because people are sad that my horny game is not as horny. It's simply because of censorship and the moronic pushes by companies. Look, I love Sony games. I've been a PlayStation fan pretty much my entire life. But even I have to admit that they make moronic choices from time to time. They don't always land, and they have made really dumb decisions like with Stellar Blade here.
Yeah, Stellar Blade is a great game. And yeah, I've been a Sony guy since the PlayStation because Nintendo messed up with the Ultra 64. Do your research. That's right, the Ultra 64.
When all they had to do was literally
Should have
stay
been CD
hands-off
based.
completely. As for people boycotting the game, I would tell you to not do that. By not buying Stellar Blade, all you're doing is telling the market that you don't want more games like it in the future, and by not buying the game, you will actually help the narrative of these woke journalists.
That's right.
And then you'll see articles pop up like Stellar Blade fails, the Chuds have lost, or whatever. Besides, these minor changes, which again, according to Kim, the creator of Stellar Blade, they aren't censorship to begin with, but we'll know hopefully more in the future. But regardless, in my opinion, do not sleep on Stellar Blade. It's a great game.
It's great.
It runs flawlessly, it plays extremely well, and there's a lot of fun content, and the gameplay is awesome. The characters are good so far. There's no annoying, ugly female characters whatsoever, no woke agenda pushing so far.
I haven't seen anything yet.
And honestly, it feels like a PS2 era game in modern day in the best way possible. If you take anything away from this video, please understand that your voice is important and you have more power than you realize. Continue to ask questions, keep these people accountable, and speak your mind, even if others tell you not to. Don't silence yourself and stand proud always. Stellar Blade is a great game, and I think people should support it, so don't let this controversy dissuade you from enjoying an objectively great game. Play it, enjoy it, but keep your voice heard and always share your opinions. If you stay silent, nothing changes. When it comes to things like Gamergate 2 and all of that, we have to be louder than ever. So I thank you for watching, like, subscribe, and share the video, and thanks to my patrons as always. Have a wonderful day, enjoy video games, and I'll see you in the next one.
Good job, man. Post comments down below, let me know what you all think. Like I said, get on over to Endymion and subscribe. Tell them Tyrone Magnus sent you. Let's get this censorship stopped on Stellar Blade. This game is good. 10 million subscribers. Woo!